So it's all about the vegetarian option this week, and this is my festive wreath. We've got the most beautiful spinach, gorgonzola, onions, sun-dried tomatoes, mushrooms, and then wrapped up in the most gorgeous cheese-encrusted puff pastry. So the festive season is upon us, and this is one of these recipes which I use it throughout the year. It doesn't need to be just for Christmas. This works as the perfect vegetarian alternative to like a Sunday roast. First of all, we're gonna get our pan nice and hot, and into that, we're just gonna take an onion, and I'm just gonna really nicely, thinly chop this. Into your pan, add a dash of oil, and then in with our onions. And again with our second one, just nicely sliced. Right, just going to get some colour through the onions. And into that, we're going to add 2 cloves of crushed garlic. And then we're going to take a decent amount of our mushrooms. So, chuck them in, cook this through, release some of that water, and then you want it to be dried off. We don't want to really have too much water going inside the pastry itself. So we've got about 10 or 15 mushrooms here. Again, keep that moving around the pan. We've got some sun-dried tomatoes over here, and I'm literally just going to cut these into nice little slithers. They can go in. Now over here, we've got 4 or 5 sprigs of thyme, and I'm just going to run my hand down the back of that sprig and just sprinkle that through. Totally optional, this one, but I like to add a good splash of brandy. You want to have a nice bit of colour on there. You can see how golden everything's going. Now we've got a good pan of spinach over here. As always, going to be using my zip tap. I'm just going to blanch that spinach off, dry it off slightly. Going to add that to our mix. So we haven't got too much water in there again. So using my zip tap, I'm going to add my boiling water. And we're just going to grab our tongs. Give that a little turn round, just wait for that spinach just to wilt down completely. Our mushrooms and our tomatoes are pretty much cooked through perfectly. They've wilted down really nicely. We're going to add a really generous handful of Parmesan. This is a vegetarian version, by the way. And then we're going to crumble in our gorgonzola. Let's get all that in there, and that's going to melt down and create the most beautiful little sauce. I'm going to season, good amount of pepper, and again with our salt, little mix round. Now that's what you're looking for, that's nice and dry, and the cheese is starting to melt through beautifully. Now we can add in our spinach, and just that little bit of moisture from that spinach is going to retain what the crunchy bottom that we have on the puff pastry. It just creates this beautiful little sauce. Now it can come off the heat, stir that through, and then lastly over here we've got some cottage cheese. So I'm going to add around 4 or 5 large tablespoons and just give that a really nice mix in. Now that's going to take away some of the punch from the strength from the blue cheese itself. But it's also going to give it a lovely little creamy flavour that goes through. Now that itself can be used on anything. That through spaghetti or a little bit of tagliatelle or even layered between lasagna sheets is absolutely incredible. Right, that can sit to one side while we get on with our pastry. So I've got a little bit of flour. And I've got some puff pastry here. So I'm just going to roll out, flip that over. I'm going to roll this out a reasonably big circle. So we have rolled that out now to about, I suppose the thickness of about 5mm, okay? So I'm just going to take my knife and just very loosely, going to cut off these corners. And then into the center, I'm just going to cut down 1, 2, and I'm just leaving a gap here, just so we can start putting some of our filling in. So there, we've got an area which we can fold back and we can fold over as well, and that's going to hold on and hold the filling in place as well. So before we do that, we're going to add that to a baking tray. So down it goes. Now we're going to start adding some of our mixture. So generous amounts, just around the outside, all the way around the outside. And this is going to form our beautiful wreath. Now we're going to simply roll over the sides, all the way around, and then we're going to take our centers and fold them back over. Don't worry about some of the juice coming out. That's all part of it. So fold that all the way around. And then we're just going to take an egg and a fork, give that a good mix up. And we're just going to paint this all around the outside. Nice generous amount of our egg all over the top. Now we're going to sprinkle with our Parmesan, and then finally really small amounts of mozzarella just all around the outside, and that's going to go lovely and brown and crispy just on the outside. Last of our time, so drag your hand down the back of the sprig again, and just going to literally just let that fall just around the top, and you're almost giving it sort of like this pizza-y sort of type crust on here. And that is your Christmas wreath. Now that can go into a preheated oven at 180 Celsius for around 20 to 25 minutes until it's gone golden brown. And there we have it. I think that looks pretty good. Right, let's try and get this one out, shall we? And there we have it. That is my festive vegetarian encrusted wreath. We're going to finish that off with just a little bit of our watercress just over here. Just going to scatter that through the middle. And that is my vegetarian wreath stuffed with gorgonzola, mushrooms, onions, sun-dried tomatoes, and finished off with the perfect cheesy, crusty top. Look, hopefully you like this one. If you do, hashtag me as Haste Kitchen as always, and I'll see you next week. Cheers then, bye-bye.